Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Level Up with Laiken. If you are looking for tangible strategies to scale up your practice and the mindset you're going to need to do it, please hit subscribe. I interview a new lawyer every week who has successfully implemented the strategies they're going to talk to you about to scale up their own practice. This week we have Ese Omofoma. Did I do it right?
You nailed it. Ashley,
Okay.
Well
It was giving me, I swear I was practicing. I even looked up videos of you to hear you say your own name to try to practice, but I did not find any of you saying your own name. So
I don't know if I should be creeped out or flattered, but okay.
I was working on the pronunciation.
Sure.
I mean, you can be creeped out.
Okay.
Not perfect. So, anyways, is it 2019 CAALA Rising Star? And then Sophie was 2020. Or are you 2020?
No, I was 2019.
2019 CAALA Rising Star. I can say I have been in the courtroom with this gentleman. Amazing lawyer. I mean, it goes without saying he's a CAALA Rising Star. He is the owner of the Omofoma Law Firm. You specialize in plaintiff's personal injury.
That's right.
Do you have any other practice areas to your practice?
Nope.
And I was absolutely shocked to find out in our prep call yesterday that he is a true, genuine solo. I am very much looking forward to breaking that down. But I thought maybe you could start by giving everyone in JHQ and YouTube land a small idea of how you came into being a lawyer.
Sure, no, definitely. First of all, Ashley, thank you very much for having me, and congratulations on all the success, and super proud of you and what you've been able to do with Level Up, so I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, as far as how I became a lawyer, so growing up, I always kind of thought that that'd be a cool thing to do, like be in the courtroom and, present persuasive arguments, but I also wanted to be a doctor. So it wasn't until college when I originally came in as a biz econ major, and then calculus and math, I was just like, no, I'm over this. So I switched to poli-sci, and once I made that switch, I knew that, I was going to be going to law school afterwards. Just, reading comprehension, that style of learning is more conducive to me than math, I guess.
It's funny because I think I can totally see you being either.
Yeah.
But I saw something very interesting this morning. I was watching I like to watch YouTube videos in the morning while I'm doing my makeup of Joe Dispenza or David Baer. And David Baer was doing a video on how to identify your purpose in life. And he was like, go back. He was like, other people have already told you what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So go back and identify the times in your life when you were like in the zone, right? And he said, for example, because he's a motivational speaker, he said that he's like, all the times I've been told, hey, you know who you remind me of? And he was like, yes, I do know. And it's Tony Robbins, right? Because he just was always inspiring people before he even found his calling. So and I thought that was interesting. Because I remember that in my own life, like when I was doing debate competitions, I always gravitated towards like speech opportunities.
Yep.
Were there times in your life, or were there people in your life that in one way or another told you what your calling is? Clearly your calling is being a trial lawyer.
Yeah, I mean as a kid, family, friends, everyone used to say, oh man, you love to argue, you're good at arguing. So I mean, there was always that, component to it. I've always been really interested in like great speakers, and I'll go and listen and analyze speeches, not necessarily in the courtroom, but just speeches in general. I think there's something fascinating about people that can captivate and compel people to act just by the spoken word. So I mean, words are powerful. Speeches can be very powerful. So it's something that from a young age till now that I'm consistently like studying, practicing, always trying to improve, and communication, regardless of what field you're in, is super important. So I definitely think there's a lot of value in that.
Okay, so you decide you want to be an attorney, but your road to getting to where you are today took a left turn, took a right. It was like you were constantly reinventing yourself.
Ditch, all kinds of weird things happening. Yeah.
And you were constantly reinventing yourself, and you're still reinventing yourself.
Definitely. Oh, always, for sure. There's always, continued growth, figuring things out. If it's not working, trying to figure out how to find something that will work. But I mean, when I graduated law school and became a lawyer here in California, yeah, we were still recovering from the recession. Originally I wanted to go into criminal defense. Public defenders offices were not hiring. There were budget cuts across the state. Private.
You wanted to be a public defender?
Well, I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney, and I didn't really care how I got in or how I got my experience. But I did want to be a criminal defense attorney.
Why the defense and not the prosecution?
It's more suitable to, I guess, who I am. I mean, obviously prosecutors, they have an important role and are obviously necessary. But I definitely, from an early age, have been, a big believer in defending people's constitutional rights and making sure that, those in power don't take shortcuts to try to obtain that conviction, and throughout history you've seen many examples of that. So I've always leaned heavily towards that than prosecuting people.
I respect that. I wanted to do prosecution, but I always respect somebody who says I was either a criminal defense attorney or I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney, because when I think of the two sides, because I did all the externships in the DA's office. Yeah. I was a volunteer TAP attorney for Orange County for like 3.5 months.
Right. Yeah.
And the one thing, it's like the criminal prosecutors, they want to do good, they want to seek justice, they want to put the bad guys away, but the defense attorneys are the protectors of the Constitution. They are the systems of checks and balances where they're the ones that stop and say, whoa, you might be convinced this person is guilty, but you still, he's entitled to due process. You have to protect his constitutional rights.
Absolutely.
So, and you can't have one without the other, but being a defense attorney is much harder. So you were actually willing to go seek the harder path to the destination of justice.
Oh yeah, I mean, to me, like, if it's never been about looking for the easiest way, if it's to something that you have a strong conviction for, you believe in, like that, easy or hard is almost irrelevant in the sense that if you're staying true to yourself, then you know what you need to do, regardless of how difficult it may be. But again, it's not to say that being a prosecutor isn't hard or there's anything wrong with that. But again, for me and kind of, how I viewed my role in the criminal justice system was definitely on the defense side. And again, there's, it's not just, hey, we're trying to help people get off. I think a lot of times when you hear criminal defense attorney, you're trying, the notion is, this person's trying to help, this person that, committed a crime, alleged committed a crime, get off, and it's not necessarily the role. I
don't think that's it at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't, but there are a lot of people that because I've been in that world, and criminal defense attorneys like, oh man, like, how do you do your job?
That's like saying that all insurance defense attorneys are trying to, even if they know something or someone was negligent, they're trying to get out of it. No. The majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them that I've worked with that are good people, they're like, no, we know we messed up. Let's just settle this for a fair number. Now you're just talking about the fair number. So if you don't ask, but if the cards are stacked against you, you try to negotiate a proper sentence, a sentence that is fair for everyone. Then you take into consideration, is this person a kid? Do they have priors? What's the likelihood they're going to go out and commit a crime again? Can we rehabilitate them as opposed to punish them?
Are you sure you only did 3 months in that program?
Yeah.
You're well versed.
Yeah, I wanted it.
Nice job. Nice.
Thank you. So, but you didn't become a criminal. You didn't become a public defender.
Correct, but I did eventually get into criminal defense.
Right.
So quickly. Graduated. Bad economy. No one's hiring. So I eventually found a job in the legal field doing Social Security disability law. Didn't know that area of law. Super random. Like I didn't know that was an area of law until I saw the job posting and I applied for it. Then I got an interview and it was job didn't pay anything. I mean, but it was a job, and so it was cool in the sense that there were like maybe 10 staff attorneys at the time, and so fairly young, so we all kind of,
you were in the trenches.
Yeah, we were able to relate, and we made the most of the situation. And a ton of like case managers and part of the job of the stop attorney was just to fly to random places for the Social Security disability hearing. So sometimes you go to like Grand Forks, North Dakota, or Fort Wayne, Indiana, just random places. And it's not like you think business travel and
No.
glamorous. No, I mean you're spending more time on the plane and at the airport usually than at the actual destination. So you fly in maybe the night before, wake up early, go to the hearing. As soon as the hearing's over, you're heading to the airport, back. So it was, but again, a lot of that was just it was good in the sense that you were just kind of you did what you needed to do. I mean, you saw an opportunity to help people, but just from a personal level, you're just like you knew, at least I knew this wasn't the end all be all, and this was just something I had to get through, and things would get better, and they did eventually.
So how long did you do that job for?
About a year.
Then what?
Then I so I wasn't, I knew this wasn't the area of law that I wanted to be doing, so I left and worked for a startup company that a friend of mine that I knew from college was starting, completely unrelated to law. They were doing order inventory management software that integrated with QuickBooks, so it was supposed to really streamline the whole ordering process where you eliminate redundant inputting into different systems. So you're supposed to have the system that would kind of spit the information out to these different systems that everyone used to save time. So it was interesting. So yeah, I was there to kind of head up the sales team and research and do some research.
So
stuff.
did this tap into a very early entrepreneurial side of you?
Yes. I mean, I've always had, so even when I graduating law school, I've always wanted to open up my own firm eventually, but I always saw that as way down the road. But yeah, so I always knew that eventually.
Why did you see it as way down the road?
Because I wanted, in my mind, I felt that I need to have X amount of experience and have X amount of money saved up, which is very reasonable. But I'm sure, as we'll get to, that wasn't the case.
No.
But yeah. So yeah, but yeah, that definitely. I mean, I did get to see firsthand. When you just have a few people in a company and the grind and the obstacles, but also the triumphs too. So it was good in that sense, and you could see when things start to come along and you kind of transition into that next phase. It's very rewarding.
Is that company still around?
That company, no. So that company actually got bought out by QuickBooks. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That worked out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It worked out for them.
Yeah.
For the founders.
So you were there for how long?
I was there for about a year and a half.
And then you make another left turn.
Yeah, so a year and a half, and obviously I'm okay, at this point I'm getting the itch to go back into law, but I really want to do the area of law that I want to do, which is criminal defense. But again, still not. So with criminal defense, usually don't have large firms, so there's not a lot of hiring opportunities.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. Because you always think that most of the criminal defense attorneys that I knew before I went to law school, and I am not going to publicly state why I knew so many criminal defense attorneys, not my record, but they struggled. I watched them struggle, which scared me, because it was either you were, the criminal defense attorney to the stars and your bills were getting paid, or you were chasing people to get your bills paid. And it was scary, but it's a labor of love, and people do it. So how did you cope with that when you're I'm gonna go be a criminal defense attorney? Were you afraid you were gonna go broke, or?
I mean, for starting out, actually before even getting into criminal defense, I had to do doc review, different projects here and there, just yeah, so it was, I you're going to talk about just mind-numbing, what the am I doing? I don't know if we can cuss on this, I probably would, but it was what the, but again, it was a necessary part of the transition, the process, let me get my foot in, let me just get back in, even though it's not even close to what I ultimately want to be doing.
You were doing what you had to do to bring in an income.
Exactly. I had, bills are piling up, and so you got to do what you got to do. And then, while this is going on, I'm still like applying for criminal defense jobs, and then I get like almost like I don't know if it's an internship, but like a very part-time job with this small firm, and they did civil and criminal. But I wasn't getting that many hours, so, but it was still still good. I'm getting closer to doing what I want to do. And then finally I was just like, I was on a call with my buddy from high school, and he's a contractor. He has his own business, and we were just talking, and I was kind of telling him what I want to do eventually, and he would kind of, after the conversation, we both kind of just agreed, and we're just like, fuck it, just do it. And that's basically what happened. So I remember calling my parents.
Meaning, let's do it like, I'm going to open my own firm?
Yeah, I'm going to open, yeah, exactly.
So did you, at that time, because you had said before, I saw it way down the road because you need to save money, you need to have experience, were all those things lined up, or was it like a, holy hell, here's where I'm at in life, we're just going to go this way?
Oh, no, none of those things. So that's part of our conversation that I was having with him. I was explaining to him, like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't have any money saved up. And when everyone says you should have, at least a year's worth of income saved up, I don't have basically any experience or minimal experience. And so, yeah, so basically after that call, I decided to do it. And no, I violated, every rule.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And let me tell you why I love that. Because I think that there is this idea that the formula or your road is cookie cutter, right? And I know so many people, would it be great to always start a firm when you have enough of the capital saved up so you don't have to worry for you. And there are people that do that, and I think that's great. That's a much less stressful way of doing it, right?
Definitely.
But it also would have been much less stressful if I had, kids at a time when I could afford a live-in nanny and like all of that stuff, but I didn't. Like
But you made it happen, right? You got it done.
Meaning the idea is that you would be dumb not to go out and talk to people who have already done it, which is the entire effing purpose for the show. But the idea being that you don't have to necessarily follow one path. You can take something from this person and this person and this person and this person. And you are a testament to, yes, it would be nice to do it that way, but you can still do it.
And to follow up on something you just said, like, yes, you can take something from this person, that person, and whoever, but you also can take something from this person. That person being you.
Yes.
And you have to
High
know.
five. I love that.
All right.
Yes.
No, seriously, that person being you and knowing what you've accomplished or what you're capable of or what your mindset is, and being like, okay, I know it's not going to be easy, but come hell or high water, I'm going to get this.
Did you have any doubt in your mind when you got off the phone with your friend and you went to call your parents and you're like, hey, guess what? This is what I'm going to do. Was there any doubt in your mind that you were not going to be successful?
No. Now, it doesn't mean that does not mean that I thought it was going to be easy.
Right.
But there was no doubt that I would eventually make it happen. There's no doubt about that. There's none, because for me to make this, like, once I finally make a decision, like something like that, like how I'm looking at it is, this has to work. And doesn't mean there aren't going to be obstacles, doesn't mean that there won't be failure, but ultimately it's going to work.
When I was thinking about starting my own practice and I was working for a firm and I was starting to ask different people about it, I heard, it's really hard and I struggled for a long time and I eventually went to work for somebody and blah, blah, blah. But I was also listening to audiobooks by female entrepreneurs, right? Not lawyers, but just other female entrepreneurs. And the one thing they all said was, no plan B. If you go all in, it's this, only this, and you are going to die making this work, right? So because everyone was saying, but worst case scenario, you don't succeed, you can always go work for a firm, right? In my head, no, you can't. No plan B. Did you have, was that like also your mindset, like, this is it, I'm going for this, laser focus?
Oh yeah, no, there was no plan B. I mean, don't get me wrong, when you're earlier, there are situations where I do think it's good to have options, but something so I guess monumental in someone's life, and so obviously has the potential to alter the the direction of your life. I think once you start allowing your thoughts to say, oh well, I always have this, then you're not fully committed, and you're not going to do what you need to do when those hard times come. You're going to it's easier for your mind to just be like, oh man, it's getting tough. Okay, at least I have this other job lined up, or I can always call so and so and ask, hey, are there any openings at your firm, or whatever the case may be. But once that option's been eliminated from your mind, once those challenging times come, you have to figure it out. And I think that's the key. Is it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not.
That's good for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think glory is found just on the other side of discomfort. You don't know what you're made of until you do. I know people who have had their own successful running practice and said, you know what, I don't like this. This isn't for me.
Sure.
I can 100% respect that.
Absolutely.
You got to do what's right for you. But it hurts me when I see people fold their practices because it got hard, or they felt like they couldn't. Mm-hmm. Because somebody told me a story, a very difficult story. And I'll say who. It was David Reinhard told me a story about a time when he had just opened his practice and he was running low on money and he had kids to support, and he laid on his floor of his house, living in Long Beach, and thought to myself, what the fuck did I do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I had a day, and I just saw him in Cabo, and I told him the story, and I was like, you got me through one of the scariest days of my life.
That's awesome.
I had settled the case, but it was taking a while for the check to come. There was one day, I'm trying to remember if it was March or April, I ran out of money. Mm-hmm. I completely ran out of money. I literally had to pull from every account that I had to pay my rent. And it was the one day, because I always pay my rent on the 1st, right? And it was the one day my landlord was like, hey, it's the 1st. And I was like, hey, I've never not paid. You're going to get it. Don't worry. But I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I was broke at 9 a.m. after I paid my rent. That check I had been waiting for came at 2. And at 2:30 in the afternoon, I had deposited more money into my business account than I had ever deposited.
That's awesome.
I had to go take a walk and process, but I had to tell David, I was like, dude, you got me through a really scary moment in the whole entrepreneurial space. And I say that to say that it would have been easier if I'd been like, you know what, I can't handle the stress. I'm just going to go get a job. But I was like, no, I want to be a present parent. I want to work for myself. I want to control my future. So for you, when you hit difficult times, and I know you have.
Of course.
What do you do? What motivates? Is it your why? What gets you through that stuff? Because you're a true solo. You don't have any assistants. It's just you.
Correct. Yeah.
How are you doing this?
No. It's but so to answer your first question. Of course. I have difficult moments all the time, obstacles, and times are just like, oh man, what did I get myself into? But I think taking a step back and looking, kind of taking inventory of your life and looking at the things that you've done and reminding yourself, hey, you've been through hard moments, and here you are, you got through it.
Steve Harvey said you survived 100% of your bad days.
When you really break it down on a basic level, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, those hard times always seem like, oh man, how am I gonna? Then you look back and it was hard, but come on. So when I face those hard
challenging moments,
you
remind yourself that you're resilient.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I remind myself, and then do whatever you gotta do. You gotta take a break or whatever helps you cope or clear your head. Mm-hmm. Do that. And then for me, I try, it doesn't always happen, I try not to have 2 bad days in a row. I try, so usually if I have a really bad day and I'm down, I try to set myself up to make sure that we don't have a repeat.
How do you do that?
So
do you just mentally reset, or mentally
reset. Also try to, for me, being productive, like, makes me happy, or at least makes me, like,
it puts you in a better mood.
Yes, because when I'm not productive, I feel really guilty, and the guilt, like, I think transitions into, like, I don't know if sadness is the right word or whatever it is. It's because I'm telling myself, like, what are you doing? Like, like, and it's usually over stupid things I've been putting off that I just don't want to do, and then it piles up. So then you're like, oh, it's just like, why? And then the crazy thing is, anytime I just, buckle down and just do it, get it done, I feel so much better. It's like, so why do I? And then like, why do I always allow myself to do this when I know, like, it's gonna be such a great feeling to be able to check this off or that off and be like.
Do you keep to-do lists?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do it too. Well, I go back and forth. Sometimes I'll do a to-do list, like, electronically, like, on my calendar, and just have a bunch of things I need to do. But I like actually writing out things and then actually.
I have a 90-day planner.
Well,
my planners never go beyond 90 days.
Oh, okay.
And it makes me map out everything for the weeks coming up.
Sure.
And I try on Sunday nights to map out the week. And I try to keep a running to-do list so I can see, because sometimes you just forget.
Oh,
like, you forget,
absolutely.
and then that stuff pops up later, and you're like, whoa. But to address what you said, it's more true than I think people give credit for, because I've been very public about, during the pandemic when, the second time my kid's school got extended, like the going back date got extended, like, I fell to my knees in the backyard and just started crying. And I was, like, overwhelmed. I didn't have any help. I was trying to, like, keep this firm alive when my trial calendar got completely cleared out.
And you just opened your firm, like, right before the pandemic.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, definitely super.
And I got kids to feed. Like, I was scared, right? And I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, "You have depression." Who, me? And she's like, "Yeah, you have depression." I'm like, "What do I do?" She was like, "Well, I'd like to get you some the serotonin uptake inhibitors, like a low dose." And I was like, no, I'm not doing anything I gotta wean off of. I'm not doing it. So she said, well, the other way's harder. Well, what's the other way? You gotta get super regimented, super disciplined. I'm like, how do you do that when depression is the antithesis to that? And she said, you do the opposite of whatever you feel like doing. Well, what's the point of that? She's like, because the productivity increases serotonin. She's like, the productivity will actually make you feel better. It'll overcome. And then I read something yesterday that said work cures you of boredom, vices, and mistakes.
Sure.
Right? And I did that. So I started a 6-step morning routine. At the time I was getting up at 4 a.m. And a 6-step morning routine. I started working.
Okay, sorry, I need to hear the 6 steps, please. I mean, I'm very fascinated about this stuff.
6-step. I read a book called The Miracle Morning.
Okay.
And turns out that what that guy, the author, was actually advocating for in the Miracle Morning routine was advocated also by other people that I had followed and read about. Like these people who are super successful, one thing a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them have in common is a super productive morning, right? Well, my morning routine has to shift and change based on what I got going on or the kids or whatever, but I try to make sure that every morning I'm either doing the 6-step routine or some form of it or a piece of it, right? Because it sets your morning up and it sets up the productivity. And when I don't do it, or if I accidentally oversleep or whatever, it sets it the other way.
So what are the actual 6 steps?
So it's, and you can do them in any order that works for you, but it's visualization, affirmation, reading, meditation, and exercise.
Okay.
So every morning I make sure, like 5-6 days a week, like I'm at the gym, but when it opens at 6 a.m. until, I usually do 45-50 minutes, and then I'm home within the hour. So if I'm at the gym by 6, I'm home by 7, get the rest of it done. And the morning routine could be literally 5 minutes or 10 minutes of each, however long you want to make it. But the idea being that productivity, right? And where I struggle is when I really, really, really don't want to do something, like I will make excuses, and you said something in Cabo that I told you on the phone yesterday. It hit me because I struggle with it, and it is when you want to know how productive you're being or where you're going, you have to get really honest with yourself. Like you got to ask yourself, am I giving it everything? And you know that there were times when you had to admit, I'm not. I know that too, especially when I do start sinking in terms of depression. I just want to sleep. I don't want to face the world, which means that work isn't getting done.
Exactly.
So I set up a system where my paralegal has to come over at a certain time, because once she gets there, no matter how bad the morning is, it is time to sit down and get stuff done, right? Well, I mean, how do you deal with it though?
I mean, I'm still, trying to figure out ways to deal with it, because it's a process. You have periods where you're on it, and then periods where you kind of see yourself slipping. So
it's hard because the trial is the fun part. Like, I don't really get a whole lot of what's the word, satisfaction out of the rest of it, like responding to discovery.
No. I mean, frankly, I hate it. I hate a lot of the tedious stuff. Yeah, exactly. I mean, discovering all that stuff. Of course, it's necessary and you gotta do it. But I mean, trial is what I think I'm best at, and it's what I enjoy the most. But also, ultimately, what I work the hardest at. I mean, when I'm prepping for a trial or in trial, I mean, I don't think I work harder in any other aspect of my life.
Is that your labor of love?
Yes. For sure.
So the trial that got you Rising Star.
Oh, yes.
Okay. What was that case about? I know, we've already discussed it, so just...
No, it's okay. It's just a very strange, weird case. So quickly, client had a baby at the hospital. Unfortunately, her baby girl passed away, within 24 hours. So Los Angeles County Coroner's Office came and took the baby, and they're supposed to do an autopsy and a bunch of different things at the coroner's office before notifying the mother that, hey, okay, everything's done and you can come in, arrange for the body to be picked up for, whatever.
Funeral.
Exactly. So this time, so this happened back in 2016. The LA County Coroner's Office was a complete mess. There's articles, throughout the year. LA Times, people doing, backlogs of bodies piling up. The chief coroner actually resigned because he couldn't get the money he needed for the budget, despite repeated requests. And he had a good paying job. He'd been making nearly $500,000 a year, and he resigned. So that kind of shows you
how bad it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they don't. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office doesn't do a autopsy on the baby's body till like 12 days after, which is way too late anyway. But I mean, this is what the case was about. But this kind of just highlights, how much disarray there was, at that time. So about 10 days go by, a representative from the coroner's office contacts my client. They go over some information.
How did your client find you?
So it's just super, again, so I had represented her brother in a criminal matter. So again, this is, that, and this is
the value of
and this
good
is, and no, but this
yeah.
was really the transition. So this is one of like my first, PI cases, because I'm just transitioning into PI at the time. So yeah, they contact her, go over some stuff, and then she tries contacting them that same day, then 2 days later, but the phone just keeps ringing. So about a month goes by, they leave her a voicemail, but she has voicemails piling up on her phone. She's not checking her phone, listening to voicemails. Basically, the voicemail says, hey, it's so-and-so from the coroner's office. We have the body here. Please give us a call at your earliest convenience. Another month goes by. She receives a letter. She receives a letter from the coroner's office saying that, hey, we've gone ahead to cremate your daughter's body, and if you want the ashes, come down and give us $350. So that was basically, so when I heard, and the reason I didn't even know what had happened was, so she had come into the office with her brother, and then I know when she used to come in, on previous occasions, she was pregnant. And so this time, I know enough time had passed. So I was asking her, I was like, oh,
is that the baby?
Right. So I was asking, oh, how, everything. And then she shared me this story, and I was like, whoa. And I had no idea like what area of law or what the issue was, but I just knew something was off.
Wrong.
Like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
wrong. So I remember at the time, Chris Montezoca, I believe you also
I do know him. Yeah.
He was next door office, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he got me to PI, mentor. Went to him, and he was, I told him, and he was like blown away too. Didn't know like what this was all about, but we both kind of agreed.
Is it?
No,
like,
it wasn't med mal. They tried to make it a med mal case, but we shut that down quickly because obviously we.
Did you take on the case with somebody else?
Yeah, so I ended up bringing Chris
Perfect.
on,
Okay.
and then we.
What was your cause of action?
It was a government claim, negligence based on the fact that they did not follow certain statutes that we'd found, and they weren't directly on point, but.
They were close enough.
Close enough.
That's
where
so
we
funny
had.
because I almost got jury duty for a body swapping, and one of the bodies got cremated, and it was the wrong body.
Oh yeah, there's
So-
yes.
So, and it was a Long Beach hospital. So the case goes to trial
Case goes to trial. I mean,
based on statutes that weren't even 100% on point.
No, not
Okay.
yeah. They weren't even. I mean, there was. The statute, the main statute we were relying on was very kind of vague, and it was. But it was the best that we had to work with, and we had initially tried to settle with the coroner's office, and they basically like, they didn't laugh at us, but they didn't take it seriously, and so from that point on, we just made up our minds that hey, we're gonna just prep this thing for trial. We're gonna go to trial, and yeah, I mean, we put in so many hours into that case. We worked really hard. And
Who funded the trial?
we both did.
Oh my
We
gosh.
both did, and yeah, I mean, you
Did
think.
you have like a ton of experts and everything on a case like that?
So not your typical experts. So
Okay.
we did have a few we had like a neuropsych on.
Mm-hmm. For mama?
Yes,
Mhm.
and then we had so we actually had a former chief coroner from San Joaquin County up north, and he was.
Wow.
And interesting enough, this
you
former.
found him.
But the crazy thing is, this former coroner was actually one of the doctors that came up with CTE for the NFL and So I don't know if you've seen the movie Concussion.
Mm-mm.
That Will Smith plays Dr. Malu. Dr. Malu was the expert that we hired for this case.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your verdict?
Verdict was we prevailed. Verdict in the sense of like number, or like what do you mean by verdict?
Well, okay. So was it unanimous?
No, we had one holdout, I believe, on all the on substantial factor and
Yeah, because it's a complicated
yes.
case that with not even the
Yes.
statute that's 100% on point. What did you end up getting in terms of monetary damages?
So we were awarded 1.1. However, they had 35% on the mother for contributory imperative fault.
Because she with a voicemail.
Well, yeah. So they were saying
So she didn't respond.
that was basically their argument. But I mean, really, through our research, we found out that and discovery and depositions, we found out that the coroner's office used to actually send out letters, certified letters,
Mm-hmm.
to family members,
Mm-hmm.
notifying them that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is what you need to do, just to ensure, and not because I mean, think about anything
You send
important.
you put one voicemail on a grieving mother's phone who just lost her baby, and that's
Right.
enough.
And the voicemail didn't say anything about, hey, if you don't do this by a certain
This
date,
is gonna happen.
it said, give us a call at your earliest convenience, and
Yeah.
that's something that we also emphasize. It
Right.
wasn't. It didn't say, hey,
Call us within
or-
24 hours or
or-
cremating
right,
the body.
or there was no
Yeah.
follow-up call, there was no text
Nothing.
message, no nothing.
Yeah.
So
And so was their defense largely like, hey, we got budget problems, we are understaffed, we don't have enough people to make sure that this is getting done, blah, blah, blah.
no, their defense was basically that.
She should have called them back?
Yeah, it should have
Oh.
been. She should have been more proactive and really trying to figure out what was going on.
It's a little bit of like character assassination on the victim.
So yeah, and and that I mean when they're when you're in trial, you'll
But
see
good for
people
you.
go.
Like you did it for the whole reason why we become plaintiffs' attorneys, right? Like that was a case that was complicated, it wasn't gonna be easy, and you took it on because something inside of you said this is wrong.
Yeah.
And you brought this woman a little sense of justice when she was already grappling with the death of her daughter, and then she's now got to grapple with, wait a second, you cremated her body without my permission? Like, what a violation, to her and the whole grieving process, and you went and fought for her.
No, yeah.
So what an amazing thing for you guys to have done. Like, it totally explains Rising Star.
I appreciate it. I mean, yes, we're proud of the verdict. We're proud of, helping our client. Obviously, we wish we could have done more. But the one thing that that's really awesome about the result of that case is the coroner's office has now gone back to sending out letters, and they've really revamped their
policy change.
And that's huge. So now, at least hopefully lessen the chance that another family or anyone else has to deal with that. Because, so that I think is
and
good.
How cool is it that you got the Rising Star Award for a case that you litigated with the guy who got the Rising Star Award 2 years prior to you?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
It was
great.
Crazy.
It was so cool because I was fortunate to be at Chris's table.
He's such a good guy.
2 years before, then he's at mine. It's crazy. It's crazy sometimes to think how the world works and how certain people come into your life and what you can do. So
and then you go with your crazy self, and you're like, not only am I going to run a solo firm,
okay.
and we're running out of time, but there's so many things I want to cover. But I'm going to go and purchase a boba shop.
Yeah, if you say it like that, it sounds like a little crazy. No, that's pretty much.
How did that happen? And I love boba, by the way.
Good. It was so.
It's in Riverside, right?
Yeah, so it's in Riverside. We opened basically beginning of November last year, and.
Did you purchase an already existing business?
No. So I got the location. There's basically an existing boba shop there.
Okay.
They were looking to sell some of their equipment and
they're trying to get out of it
and take over and have someone take over their lease, and so it just worked out in that sense where we were able to get that, and then basically I don't know, I wanted to open as quickly as possible.
How did you stumble onto this?
So I guess so. My lady actually has her own boba shop, and has some others that she's partnered up with some other people to in Orange County, and so we were talking, and she was telling me about some of the other stores that they worked with, and how even during the pandemic, like, they've been doing very, very well, because obviously you don't, it's not necessarily, you can do dine-in, but it's very conducive to takeout orders, and you have the delivery apps and whatnot. So, the restaurant industry got hit super hard, but there have been a lot of thriving boba shops. And then, so I started doing more research, and it's really kind of became fascinated by, how, because it seems crazy, like, how can you run a successful business selling, cups of tea or smoothies or whatever? You just,
oh my god, boba's so popular.
It doesn't make any sense, and then you start to learn more, and you see the volume and the people, the passion.
So she got you into it.
Yes, we were I basically was just kind of, I was inquisitive, I was curious, and because I told a lot of friends during the start of the pandemic, I said that, look, we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen with your law practice. We as plaintiffs learn, exactly. We're plaintiffs. We work on contingency, and you can go long periods of time without getting.
Is this the girl that was at? Yep, I know. I was going to ask you. Is this her?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it is.
I like her.
No, good. Thank you.
I approve. Not that it matters.
Oh, okay. No, thank you.
I liked her. And
thank you very much.
You mentioned her in your speech, and it was the cutest thing ever.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So we've covered the boba thing. Now, because we are running out of time, I am going to ask you a question that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you a question that I don't ask all my guests, and I don't know why. This question came to me when you sat in that chair, but I was like, I'm going to ask him this.
Cool.
Okay. Young attorney comes to you and says, I'm thinking about starting my own firm. What do you tell them? 3 pieces of advice.
If you're thinking about starting, first of all, don't start your own firm if you're only 1 foot in or halfway committed or quarter way committed. You need to get to the point where you have made up your mind that this is something that you're going to do and you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment, because it's going to be tough. I will just say that flat out. It's going to be tough. It's also one of the most rewarding decisions you'll probably make. As I bet. I think within your story, you covered, how frustrating and scary it could be, and then the upside and reward.
I still don't think I could ever go back.
You can. Oh, I know. I cannot. Yeah, and it's you. Because, like you said, the freedom.
Yeah.
And now you get cases, you get to decide the direction, you get to try the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important for a lot of, female attorneys, because I know of a lot of female attorneys that want trial experience, and it's very difficult sometimes to get trial experience in other firms. But what you're doing, and I know there's a few others, I think is amazing. Not only showing that obviously this can be done, which we all know that
it can be done better on your own.
Yeah, and then you can control, trying cases.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer dependent or relying on someone else giving you an opportunity.
Yes.
Obviously, yes, we'd love for that just to be the case, but
yes.
We know how that's not always how the world works.
That's
and sometimes
true.
you just have to just be like, I want to be a trial lawyer. I'm going to figure out a way to get trials.
Yeah.
Whether it's, and because if you want to be a trial lawyer and you kind of sit back and say, one day, you're probably going to, 20, 30 years going to pass.
One day until you retire.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And then before you know, it's like, so, and again, and I think you're rewarded for that, the risk that you took. So
okay. That's be totally committed.
Totally committed, yes. Watch your overhead. That's very important. I can't stress that enough.
Do you have office space, or are you working out of home?
I right now mostly working out of home. I guess this is my first time at the Orange County JHQ, which is very.
I'm waiting for Torrance to open up.
Yeah, Torrance will be
open. I'm working out of home, but when Torrance opens, I'm going to Torrance. I'd like to get back into a collaborative workspace.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah, I think the energy and is always good to kind of have that around you sometimes. So that's 2, and then 3 would be to, I guess, I don't know if it's maybe it's close, similar to 1, but trust yourself. Trust that you have what it takes. Like you are, look, regardless of what you've done in life, think about where you are. If you're at the point where you can even be considering opening up your own practice, you've accomplished some stuff, you've gone through some hard times. So you have what it takes.
And I think an interesting addition to that is a lot of people say, oh, the market's saturated, we're in LA, there's so many plaintiffs attorneys. And there was something that I had heard in a book when I was thinking about doing my own thing. And the woman said, if you want to do something that's been done before, don't let that distract you, because it's never been done by you.
Yep.
Like, you are the secret sauce, right? You bring something new and fresh to the game. I'm not going to try a case the way you're going to try a case. You're not going to try a case the way I'm going to try a case. I'm sorry we didn't get to try that case together.
So we were very close.
We were very close.
Settled at the last.
We were very
minute
close.
There, yes.
Yeah, and that judge, every time I walk into his courtroom, he's like, "Please tell me you are not here for trial." I'm like, "No, I just missed you." But I think we actually also made a huge difference in his life on that day. I told you I had a conversation.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So always good to be professional and enact change and be civil, but
and stand up for yourself too.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
Yes.
And for you.
Yes.
Blah blah blah. Here's the last question I wanted to ask you. What is one thing about you that most of your colleagues do not know?
Well, that's a really good question. One thing about me that most of my
We all know about the boba place.
I guess it depends on the colleague. I have some very close colleagues that probably know.
Something about you that most people don't know about
Oh, wow.
you.
Oh,
Secret
wow,
talent,
wow. Great counselor
crazy
question.
story.
Great question, counselor.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's anything specific, but I would say I'm it's hard to give examples, but I'm just like, if you spend enough time with me, I'm just really weird. I'm just a weird dude.
I love that.
I'm weird. I can't explain it. It's just one of those things. You just I'm just weird, and I don't know, just embrace the weirdness.
You know what weird is? Weird is interesting.
Yes.
Do you know how many times I've been called weird in my life?
How many times?
Constant. Literally, since I was a little kid, people used to tell me in elementary school, you're really weird.
Yeah.
And I learned, and it caused such insecurity in me until I hit like 35, 36. And I don't know what happened. I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I don't care what other people think of me because if you don't like me, that's your loss, right? And I always tell my daughter to try to avoid, because kids call my daughter weird. I was like, honey, other people's opinion of you is none of your business.
That's right? That's very profound.
I love weird. Weird is interesting, right? Like, you're the same dude that took like 3 different career changes to get to where you are.
I don't know. That might just be foolish, but
no, it's because you had the guts to do it. You were like, I see an opportunity here. I'm gonna go see this through. Most people, you're part of like the 1 or 2% of society. Most people, think about it. Most people in their old age have a lot of, I wish I would have. I don't want that. Right? Like, I'm gonna go do whatever it is I want to do because I don't want that. I want to say, I'm so glad I blank.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
You're the guy who's going to be older, in your retirement age saying, I'm so glad I blank. I had this idea, I saw it through, it worked out, it didn't work out, but I learned this and this and this, and it got me to here.
Well, that's the goal. I still got a long way to go, but no, thank you. Yes, I want to be in that position. Absolutely.
I think the fact that you said you're weird is probably one of the coolest things you said today. I love that.
Well, thank you. No, I tend to like be fascinated and gravitate towards, like you said, people that are comfortable in their own skin. Don't.
Are you careful with who you surround yourself with?
Oh, absolutely. Like, well, I'm careful with who I reveal my, the
your true self,
or like just in general. I think, I think, I don't know, me personally, I that's just how I've always been. I think just how I always will be. It doesn't mean I can't, meet new people and have a good time and chat up, whatever. Like, absolutely, that's not an issue. But as far as people that I trust, that's it's a short list.
Yes,
for sure.
yes. Ese, man, this turned out even. Are you exhausted?
No, honestly, I'm so at ease that you have this gift of just allowing the conversation to flow naturally, where it's not like this regimented back and forth. I commend you. I honestly, I'm super proud and happy for you. You want to talk about taking, making opportunities, and here you are with, JHQ. It's like, why not, make the most of this? And look what you're recognized in Cabo, and everyone's asking you, aren't you, what's your last name? Oh,
well, it was just so funny because the people in Cabo, I was saying this before, the people in Cabo,
I know, we keep saying Cabo like it's just this random.
The Dornick Trial College,
yeah, so
people knew of the show, which was great because I didn't know how many people outside of JHQ, and there's even a lot of people in JHQ that still don't know about this show. But I was very pleased with how many people, even in other states, knew the show. But when people heard my last name, they're like, oh, you're the girl. And I'm like, well, if you've seen, I love your show. I'm like, well, if you've seen the show, how come you didn't recognize me? And they were all, I heard probably 15 times, I thought you were taller. Because I was wearing flats and I'm 5'1". So I guess my personality is makes
just
people think
off the
that
charts and
I love it, yeah. But thank you for your feedback. That means everything to me. When people tell me how they feel as my guest, that is, everything to me, and how the show, a lot of people have gotten a lot of value out of it, and that makes me so happy because this whole thing was born out of my own selfish desire as a very brand new entrepreneur not to reinvent the wheel. And then it morphed into this because I was like, I got so much value, I wanted to give that value to the world and to highlight the things that other GHQ members have done, like you, right? And I always know that someone like you, there's always not just, and I'm huge on mindset, I'm huge on personal development, as my morning routine, illustrates, but it's not just, okay, if I want to get more clients, this is what I do. If I want to me, mindset and the business they're intertwined. You cannot do, well at one and not the other. So I know, like, a lot of the doubts that I was feeling and still do on my journey are not unique to me. Like, it blows my mind when I hang out with other women my age, because it's like all these insecurities I think I'm having, they're having it too.
Oh yeah.
So for anyone out there, part of the reason for the show is for anyone out there that is also feeling this, no, you're not alone. Here's how other people, deal with it. Here's how other people get past it and thrive. So thank you for doing that.
No, thank you. I don't know. I mean, who if anyone, if someone.
Oh, how can people find you if they have questions?
Oh, I email, I guess. I still don't have like a personal Instagram. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know I probably should. That's for the cool kids. I'm not.
All right, give your email.
Oh, ESE at O, M as in Mary, O, F as in Frank, O, M as in Mary, A, LAW.com. So Ese, my first name, ESE at OmofomaLaw.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Ashley. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Super happy for you. And oh, by the way, I believe Ellen DeGeneres just announced that this would be her last season. So it looks like there might be an opening.
A little
here.
space in the
I don't know. I'm sure there's some people here that we know that can make some calls, and
that would be my last career. That would be my last career. But everybody, thank you for joining this week's edition of Level Up with Laiken. Sending you lots of love, joy, and success this week. See you next week.